Welcome to the Susan Brender Show. It's all about you, featuring shows on health and wellness, the performing arts, politics, and people who inspire you to be your very best. And now, here's Susan Brender.
I'm Susan Brender, and this is the Susan Brender Show, and I'm very fortunate again to have Mark Barnes on my show. He was on the show before, and boy, are you going to enjoy what he has to say. And Deidre Regal is my co-host, and needless to say, it's been a great team, and I think that it's going to continue like that. So let me tell you just a little bit about Mark Barnes. Now, Mark Barnes is a multi-award-winning composer and musician. He's the bad boy of chill out, and we're going to have him tell what that means. Now, he'll open your third eye, musically speaking. Barnes' music has been featured in numerous magazines and websites, including Shine On, Hollywood Magazine in 2016, and he'll tell us the other magazines he's been part of. So I want to welcome to my show Mark Barnes, and take it from here, Deidre.
Well, Mark, it is absolutely a privilege to have you on this show. You are the epitome of success in the music world for someone who's working as hard as you have. And I, first of all, want to ask you to tell our audience where they can purchase your music, and then I'm going to tell them why they need to purchase your music. So where can we purchase your music, Mark?
Besides the regular places, iTunes, Rhapsody, Pandora, Amazon, CD Baby, www.markbarnesmusic.com.
Great. Well, Susan is right. You are an award-winning musician in so many ways, and you have just gotten back from Hollywood. Congratulations are absolutely in order for you.
Thank you.
I think if I had this straight, were the opening act at Hard Rock Cafe as part of the Producer's Choice Honors Red Carpet event. That sounds really cool. So tell us more about that. Tell us more about that, Mark, please.
Al Bowman, who is the founder of the Los Angeles Music Awards and the Hollywood Fame, FAME, for film, arts, entertainment, and music. He has been a leader in the music world for many years and has been one of the few people to recognize as well as promote the independent artists. And many of his independent artists that he has featured in the past and who have been awarded because of their excellence in their music have went on to become primary acts, A-listers, movie stars, you name it, and he has been a result, he's been behind the result of them moving forward.
Before you continue, I think it's very important that you tell our audience what sets you apart and what sets other people apart from the artists all around, because there are tons of artists. So I want our audience to know how it feels to be part of this particular award-winning title, if you will, award-winning title. What makes you an award-winning recipient?
My music, every musician wants to believe that their music is unique, that it's different than the rest and it's set apart. I have learned over the last 10 years of being in this full-time that mine is. It is truly a different style from anybody else. When people ask, who do you sound like? I sound like me. It is a beautiful combination of new age, semi-classical music, with a little bit of contemporary instrumental thrown in, Genesis, Floyd, you name it. I guess you would say my influences are wide and varied, and it comes out in my music.
Oh, this is so true, Mark. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is why I wanted you at the top of our show to tell the audience where they can get your music. And you know I'm a big fan of yours, and as a musician myself, with my own unique style, I really appreciate your style. And when I listen to your music, it takes me places that even my own music doesn't take me. You have such a fresh approach, and so it's so in-depth and so relaxing. And you just pull out, you provide something that you're very correct, no other musician provides. And so I really, really, really appreciate, Susan, you asking Mark what sets his music apart. And, of course, I think everyone who listens to you would have their own answer. So you've come back just now from Hollywood, and you've told us that you met Al Bowman. There's quite a story, if I understand correctly, that goes with that. What I would love for you to tell our audience is just make us understand what it felt like for you to be there and to have that moment of realizing your success that you've made in the last 10 years.
Honestly, I'm quite honored. There's no other way to put it. I am very honored that, number one, Al saw something 10 years ago and wanted to work with it. Number two, that I have a fan base that is as, supportive as they are, that they listen to my music, they buy my music, they keep me going. And, number three, that I've got the talent to be able to compose this music. Believe me, I don't write music. I've never really taken lessons. This is everything that I do is from the heart, and it really shows in the style of music.
Well, you see, I want to take a different kind of side to the questioning, because I know that music resonates with virtually everybody, from kids, little kids, all the way to octogenarians. Now, there are people who have problems, and they use music as a way to transform themselves. It's a way to kind of get away from the problems that they're facing. So music therapy, I'm talking about music therapy for the moment, and I don't know how much you know about music therapy, Mark, but, when you talk about your styles, go ahead. Tell us.
I've really learned a lot about this over the last couple of years, because I have found through people coming back to me, there was a number of inner city schools up in West Virginia that were using my music during homeroom period to mellow kids as they were coming into the school, keeping them calm, trying to bring their focus together. Also at another place, which was up in Washington State, where a friend of mine who liked my music was playing my music at a psych institute. I don't want to call it a hospital, but it was a home where, closed-in home where a lot of people who have had bad psychological problems would be there, and they lived there, so they were full-time residents. And she would play my music, and there was this one lady that nobody could get through. That she didn't talk, just stared straight ahead. Somehow in her previous incarnation of her life, she was a dancer. And when my music would play, she would come to life, come out of this coma that she was in, and dance around the room. I've heard story after story after story similar to that really helps me understand how the music relates back to those with, those types of issues, or helps people deal with their loss. And even my last CD was all about my loss, and it came out in the music.
Deidre, you're a musician too, and you've done so many different things. You've composed, and you've written, and you've done music that is really stunning, and so has Mark. Now, what do you attribute to the fact, and this question is for both of you actually, and that is that now we have kids, writing rap, hip-hop, and they're using language in their songs that are horrible, and I wonder why this is so accepted by our society today. So what do you think, Deidre, and what do you think, Mark? How do you attribute this I'm sorry to say, I call it disgusting music. And if anybody doesn't like it, well, that's just too bad.
Yeah, I get, Susan, what I want to back up. What a great question you asked, Mark, about music therapy. And I absolutely concur. And my answer to you, and Mark, you may or may not agree, is that for these people who are writing these really X-rated lyrics and very violent, verbal violence, I will call it, music full of verbal violence. In my estimation, that may very well be their own type of therapy, using music to express their anger, their pain, their frustration, their darkness. I don't like to listen to somebody else's darkness particularly, but this may be their form of music therapy. Mark, what do you think?
In my opinion, number one, I have heard some of the instrumental aspect that has been enjoyable. I personally am a Simon Cowell when it comes to vocals. I am that critical, and I am very, very critical. I can't sing. I don't want to make people's ears bleed, so I keep my mouth shut. But when it comes to listening, I don't want to hear spoken word. I'm not a fan of hip-hop or rap. When it gets into the degradatory thing, that's just their life. That's the inner city. That's how they relate back or are cool. I don't find any pleasure in that, and I don't want to listen to it, so I don't. And, being a voting member of the Grammys, I get a lot of people coming to me, and it's like, I had to listen to a children's hip-hop album last year for the Grammys. And because I didn't like it, that type of music to begin with, I was initially going into it with I don't want to listen to this, but, I have to. It was quite nice. It was good. The album was very educational, but it was done respectful. It was done fun. It was made for kids. So it was completely different and slightly changed my attitude that not all hip-hop or rap was bad, but, there is a certain level that is just, ain't going to do it for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I get it. Susan, you must have an opinion on this as well. You've expressed some of it. I mean, you're a woman who's traveled the world and, been around so much experience in your life. Where do you stand on this? I'm curious.
Well, let me just tell you something. Many years ago, as my audience probably knows, I used to be a producer for TV. And one of the TV programs that I produced was about the beginning of hip-hop. Now, I went to a studio and I listened to a whole group of young guys doing their song, and it was like Harry Belafonte in hip-hop form. It was wonderful, and it was, glorious because Harry Belafonte, that's stunning music. So
great music.
Yeah, so, you could be very interestingly different. You don't have to be I don't even know how to say this. You don't have to be fresh. I'm going to say fresh, like my mother used to say. You don't have to use words that are violent, that make people stand apart from you because it's just so insulting. So how do I feel? I know that a lot of hip-hop and a lot of rap is like poetry. That I love. I love the creativity of the people who write these songs. But as far as I'm concerned, they could get rid of some of that, and my audience will accept this word, I hope, crap. I view it as crap. Now, Deidre, what about you? You listen to so many musicians, and what do you think?
I think that there's value in every style of music, it really comes down to a matter of, do I want to listen to heavy metal? Do I want to listen to vulgar music? Probably not. Do I prefer to listen to music like Mark's that is uplifting? The instrumental aspect of it has its own lyrical version. I can create my own lyrics. So I prefer to listen to something more uplifting, which really brings me to my next question that I've really been wanting to ask Mark. I've been wanting to ask this of you for a long time. And Susan, you're probably going to have an opinion too. What is the value, Mark, that you believe artists add to our society?
Oh my God! Personally, it's immeasurable. You can't. There is. That is a question that I can't even begin to answer, to be quite truthful. There is too many aspects of that question which can go into philosophical and psychological value, to emotional value, to financial value. There is just that needs to be a lot more, honed in as to what specific value you're talking about. It'll bring people out of just absolute, the depths of hell to, making somebody elated beyond belief, to being able to hear something that you remember and it elicits tears, but, it's good tears, to, helping you deal with just massive sorrow. Then you get into the whole financial aspect of the value, which is so underserved at this point with clubs, play here for the exposure. I got 2 words for that. It's like it needs to be, nobody wants to buy the CDs anymore. Everybody wants to download for free. It's good in its sense, but all of these musicians that get hundreds of thousands to millions of plays from these people who don't pay to listen, the payout is just paltry. And it's criminal in my opinion, but, it is what it is. We will continue, like most musicians, to write no matter what, because that's our release.
Well, we have to write. I think you gave a wonderful answer to the question, Mark. You spoke about all the different aspects and layers of value that we add to our society. All artists, and all 3 of us on this call today, on this interview, are artists in our own right, and we add to society. And what you just said was so many layers of the different types of values that we add to our culture. And you also spoke about how we're maybe not as well compensated and remunerated for that, or as appreciated in our culture as we might be. And I really loved your answer. Susan, what do you think?
Thank you.
Well, I'm thinking about something different, Deidre and Mark. I'm thinking about the effects of music on people who are finding themselves in a bad place. We talked about musical therapy, and I think that, that relates to it. But most of all, imagine that you have people from Muslims, people of different ethnicities all over the place who are fighting each other. And yet, when they play music, it's like a universal language. And that's along the line. This to me is absolutely the most important thing that we can understand, that music is a language that creates sort of a peace between peoples who are just wanting to kill each other.
That is definitely one aspect of it, yeah.
Okay, so what do you think about that, Mark? Because you must have been in a situation where you were playing and listening to French music and to Greek music and to Islamic music and Indian music, and you name it. I'm sure you heard it. And, what is it about the fact that it brings people together?
Well, the way you've just individualized out each, group, we don't. It's music. It's not French music. It's not Indian music. It's not Muslim music. It's music. That's where that comes from. It is not individualized into races or groups. Music is music. Majority of the time, not always, but a majority of the time, I don't think when I'm listening to something, I don't think, oh, this is from a French artist. This is from a very good artist who happens to live in France. Or, wow, this is a Middle Eastern artist who's created some of the best music I've heard. But I don't think about it. And sometimes I don't even think, oh, this person's from Tehran. So I'm not even thinking Middle Eastern, but I'm thinking, God, listen to this. The way they brought the guitars in there, and you can picture the dancers, dancing to this music. Beautiful. But for us, it's music.
I think this is a great discussion. It's one sound. And I share that with you, Mark, as a musician. I'm really interested in the quality. And for me as well, it's an understanding of that particular culture. I think we've all traveled to other countries, and we know that the arts are the expression of man's soul. And so I think what we're really doing is connecting with somebody at the soul level when we connect with them musically. And as Susan said, that transcends all barriers of thought, race, belief, political lines. And to me, that if I come back to what is the value that we add to the society, I would say it's unification and expression. And wow,
yep.
what a great discussion.
Good way to say it.
We're having. Yeah, what a great discussion we're having.
I think a lot of people find it amusing when they come into my vehicle. And they go into my vehicle, and they probably expect to hear something similar to what I compose or what I write. And I throw on the radio in there, and then it's like, it's good old country music. Completely different. I don't ever feel the necessity to write it. I don't know if I could, but I love listening to country music. Mm-hmm. But when I'm composing, my stuff just comes out of me the way it does.
Mm-hmm. What is it about this music that you're talking about, the country music? Is it that it tells a story? Because I know country music compared to a lot of
a lot of it does, and I'm not a lyric person, to be quite truthful, because, I'm strictly an instrumentalist. Although I've written poems before, most of my stuff, I relate to the instrumental aspect of it. But yes, a lot of the country music has some fun stories or little stories, Sometimes it's all the same thing. It's my girlfriend, my truck, and my dog. But it's fun. It gets you toe tapping. It gets you moving. I find that with a lot of the newer music out today, some of the country artists have the best harmonies and best vocal qualities out of all the music that's coming out today.
Oh, yes. Oh yes.
Now, Deidre,
they operate from their heart.
Deidre, I love the fact that you talk about operating from your heart. It's very soulful. And I think that I would like the audience to know your definition of soulful, because you write music, you compose music that really stands out. And Mark, I want your definition of soul and, just the way people feel again.
Mark, you go first, please.
I don't really have an answer for that, to be quite truthful. I don't. I'm not feeling the question, to be quite just honest.
Okay.
I don't think of, when I'm writing music, I don't think about that. I either feel it, what? I sit down and I don't, Mark's going to go sit at the piano and I'm going to write a new song. No. That's just not how it ever happens for me. Mm-hmm. Mark goes sit on the piano and I go to play one of my songs. I got the headphones on and I'm playing one of my songs and I just screwed up. Ooh, but I like that progression. And then I'll take that progression and it's just like, oh wow, this is beautiful. Okay.
Music can create a kind of spirituality that people are looking for. You don't think that happens to you?
I don't look at it like that. As I previously stated, certain songs can, excite or induce a physical or mental response. And if it's spiritual, I can listen to, really the old Southern gospel choirs and just feel like, wow, that's, if you watched America's Got Talent this year, they had I believe they were either from Chicago or Atlanta. They had a beautiful Southern Baptist choir, and they were fabulous. And you know what? And if you didn't feel some type of like exhilaration, I am not a religious person. I frankly don't subscribe to man's religion. So I don't think of spiritualism in that.
Well, there are many who would agree with you. And to take my turn to answer the question, Mark, I absolutely understand where you're coming from. And like you, sometimes a song just comes, and I think that is my heart speaking, my soul speaking. It's my need to express, and that would be my answer to the question. So, Mark, just as I know we're coming to the end of our time here, and I have just one more question that I would love to ask you, and that my knowledge of you is that you joined the ranks of professional musicians later in life rather than earlier. And there's got to be a story here. So do you mind sharing how this transformation happened for you and why?
For me, I've always been into music, and it was always for me. Still to this day, my music is first and foremost for me, because my music is my release. It's my excitement. It's my fun. I found out how to monetize it and how to make it more part of my everyday living and to bring it into almost a full-time career. Prior to that, I ran mortgage companies for many years. I used to own one of the largest mortgage companies here in Port St. Lucie, and had quite a large staff. I've done underwriting for many years, and that was the life for almost a little more than 25 years. Mortgages, banking, and when the market crashed, I was fried. And I said, I'm going to put out my first CD. And that's when, a lot of people started saying, oh, this is nice. Local radio station picked up the CD to start playing it on their jazz program. And then it moved me into my second CD. And on my second CD, I had a pretty nasty, it wasn't nasty. It was just, in my opinion, it was like not that great of a review from Music Connection magazine. And it was enough to make Al Bowman say, I got to hear what they're talking, because he read the reviews, listened to it. He absolutely loved it, invited me out to the LA Music Awards where I got to play. And that was the start of everything.
Right place at the right time.
I credit him with most of my success.
We're so lucky. Mark, you have a total of 10 albums out now. 10 albums.
Yeah.
That is just so remarkable. I mean, your most recent is called Once Upon a Time. Am I correct about that?
It is. It's my favorite by far.
Yeah.
What makes it your favorite, Mark? Is there something special about it?
The CD was, I'm almost at a year of losing my little girl. She was a almost 11-year-old Shih Tzu, and just a doll. She was my baby, and she started having seizures, and we got to the point where I just knew that she was screaming. You could tell the pain when she was having those seizures. I had to put her down right before Christmas last year. And man, I needed an outlet just to get rid of some of my pain. And then, of course, Christmas to me is everything. I am Mr. Christmas. And so the two just went together, and I missed her so much. So most of the music, with the exception of Valentine's Rhapsody, which I wrote when I was 15 years old, finally recorded, was a result of her. The ups, the downs. Bad day, good day. There's light at the end of the title. To Once Upon a Time, which is the last song on the CD, which is a story about once upon a time I had this little girl. And so the CD is for her. It had got a lot of attention in the preliminary Grammy runnings this year, and the nominations will be coming out at the beginning of December, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Oh, Mark, I'm right there with you, keeping my fingers crossed for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
Thank you very much.
What is in store for you, Mark? Anything new coming up? Something you want to tell our audience about?
I haven't yet. Don't even have a name for it. I just finished this CD at the end of July. So, but I've got 4 songs ready for the next one. And if all goes well next year, I'll be putting out a Christmas CD as well as a follow-up to Once Upon a Time.
Ooh, something to look forward to from you. Wow.
Sounds great. Now, our guest today has been Mark Barnes, who is a phenomenal, and I say phenomenal with no exception, artist who plays music and really believes in what he does, and he's going to be a very successful artist for a very long time, and I want to thank you so very much for being on the Susan Brender Show, Mark Barnes.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. I'm having a blast because right now I'm starting to help other artists because I've realized that my second talent was art and helping people produce their CDs. So I've started offering services for doing the art and the whole design work for the CDs and helping put together CDs for independent artists. So
wow.
That's going to be a fun little venture that I'll start getting into more in 2018.
And it's needed, Mark. You're filling a big gap there. Really cool. Congratulations on that as well. Yeah.
So many people don't know about copywriting their music and, what services to use to do their CDs, whether they want CDs or not, how to get it out to all of the different places. And, CD Baby, love them or hate them, they really provide a valuable service out there.
Yes. Before we just end the show, is there anything else that you think Mark needs to address? Because, again, he has so much information, and he's given us a little bit of education about what goes on in the music business. Anything you want to ask him before we leave? I would just
offer a huge round of applause to Mark for his accomplishments in his life, taking what was a latent talent from 15 years old and bringing it into the forefront of his life, into monetization, into helping other artists, giving back, and expressing for us, all of us listeners, the inexpressible.
If you've got the drive, it doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned.
Yes, exactly, Mark. And that's the wonderful way to finish this interview today, is to say if we've got the drive, it doesn't matter what age we are. So, Mark, it's just such a delight to know you. I feel so honored that you've been on our show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So please tell people again where they can purchase your fabulous award-winning music.
If they want to start, they can go to www.markbarnesmusic.com. And there are, in my links page, if they want to, if they're a iTunes lover or if they're Amazon, there's links from there off to those places so that they can continue their purchasing from their preferred place, CD Baby, as well as they can listen to it on Spotify, Pandora, and most of the online outlets.
Fabulous.
Okay, well,
fabulous.
Thank you, Mark, again for being on the Susan Brender Show. And Deidre,
thank you for having me.
For asking such wonderful questions. I mean, I'm so proud to have you as part of this whole experience.
And I'm likewise honored, Susan, to be part of it as well. So wonderful. Wonderful. I wish all of our listeners a fabulous day, whatever day they happen to be listening to our podcast. And I salute all of us who are artists and all of us who appreciate artists.
Thank you for listening to The Susan Brender Show. To be a guest, email sebrender@yahoo.com.